Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Mom Jessa. Today I will be talking about SDG 14 Life Below Water. This is a continuation of my partner's report, and I will be starting about coral reefs, coasts, mangroves, and their ecological importance. First, we will tackle about the ecological importance of coral reefs. So, what are the ecological importance of coral reefs? First, it serves as a habitat. In this labyrinth of living limestones, scientists estimate that over 1 million plant and animal species are involved, and they hosts receive more than 25% of all species of marine life. It is one of the most important biodiversity hotspots on Earth. Coral reefs often host juvenile fish that live further offshore. They are the basis for the formation of other ecosystems. Indeed, the food of coral formations by the hordes of parrotfish lead to the formation of very large tracts of sand, and by the action of currents leads to the formation of shoals. Islands, and especially in areas prone to the formation of mangroves and other coastal forests. Next, it also serves as a food resource. More than 275 million people live within 10 kilometers of coastline and within 30 kilometers of coral. One-eighth of the world's population, approximately 850 million people, live within 100 kilometers of coral and are likely to reap the benefits of ecosystem services provided by the coral reefs. Next, it also serves an economic importance. Because of the income coming directly from fishing in their waters, reefs provide resources and services worth billions of dollars every year. Millions of people around the world depend on coral reefs for food, protection, and employment. These figures are even more impressive than the reefs covers less than 1% of the Earth's surface. It also serves as a tourism wealth. The reefs are often essential element in the economy of tropical regions they inhabit. They attract divers in effect, free divers, recreational fishermen, and lovers of white sand beaches. More than 100 countries benefit from tourism related to reefs, and it contributes more than 30% of export earnings in more than 20 countries. Local economies benefit from billions of dollars from visitors to reefs, with their companies exploiting reef ecosystems. Through tourist services, billions of dollars are collected. Coral reefs also serve as a medical feature. Coral reefs also contribute to the advancement of research. Being deprived in a great measure of all possible movements, coral reefs have developed a very effective arsenal of chemical weapons to defend themselves and to make war in the conquest of the reef area. Their weapons are so effective that it has a wide distribution area and therefore a greater number of potentially hostile species. Many of these chemical compounds have molecules that have the potential of our drug discovery. Next, what are the ecological importance of coasts? A healthy coastal ecosystems are the lifeblood of the Pacific island communities. This is providing people food, income, and physical protection. Many people's livelihoods are intrinsically tied in with food production. Coastal communities catch or collect fish and crustaceans from nearshore areas, and then sell them to other communities and community members without ready access to these areas. In addition, commercial fishing operations within nearshore coastal areas provide employment and royalties to communities. Tourism to coastal areas is also economically important, with tourists visiting the white sandy beaches and coral reefs across the Pacific Islands providing employment for local people. These income generating activities are relied upon by communities. Next comes up with another question. What are the ecological importance of mangroves? First, mangrove serves as a protection of the shoreline. For example, whenever a tsunami comes, mangroves serve as protection so that an island wouldn't be consumed by it. Another one, it serves as a nursery. These are valuable nursery areas for shrimp, crustaceans, mollusks, and fishes. Mangroves are a critical component of Florida's commercial and recreational fishing industries. These habitats provide a rich source of food while also offering refuge from predation. Another one ecological importance of mangrove is that it supports threatened and endangered species. Some of the threatened species include the American alligator, green sea turtle, loggerhead sea turtle, American crocodile, hawksbill sea turtle, eastern indigo snake, Atlantic saltmarsh snake, southern bald eagle, peregrine falcon, brown pelican, and the West Indian manatee. These species utilize mangrove systems during at least some portion of their life histories, while others reside their entire lifespans feeding and nesting within the mangroves. Another use of the mangroves is that it serves as a renewable resource. Mangroves are utilized in many parts of the world for renewable resource. In other parts of the world, people have utilized mangrove trees as a renewable resource. Harvested for durable, water-resistant wood, mangroves have been used in building houses, boats, pilings, and furniture. The wood of the block mangrove and buttonwood tree has also been utilized in the production of charcoal. Tannins and other dyes are extracted from mangrove bark. Leaves have been used in tea, medicine, livestock feed, and is a substitute for tobacco smoking. Up next, we will talk about the sea level rise and the countries that will experience total or partial loss of land. But first, let us ask a question. What is the sea level rise and what causes it? The answer for that is sea level rise is an increase in the level of the world's oceans due to the effects of global warming. Burning fossil fuels is one of the causes of global warming because it releases carbon dioxide and other heat-trapping gases into the atmosphere. The oceans then absorb the majority of this heat. As water becomes warmer, it expands. This results in ocean levels rising worldwide. Now, what are the countries that will experience total or partial loss of land? I have here numbers of countries who are experiencing such. First is St. Kitts, which has shrunk 90 kilometers or approximately 34.7 square miles. This is the same with Nevis in the Caribbean. Next is Ecuador, with a loss of 10.29% of its land area, at 28,480 square kilometers. This is approximately 10,996.2 square miles. The fourth one in line is Vietnam, with a loss of 4.74% of its total area. The fifth one is Bulgaria, losing 1.87% of its area. Sixth is Seychelles, who have lost 1.9% of its total area. In the seventh is Cuba, who have lost 0.89%. Next is Sweden, who have lost 0.73%. Iraq also lost 70% of its total area. Next is Azerbaijan, who have lost 67% of its area. El Salvador, who came second to the last, lost 0.62% of its area. And lastly, Japan, who have lost 0.58% of its total area. Next is a topic that we usually don't hear that much. These are the climate refugees. So, what is a climate refugee? Who are climate refugees? A climate refugee is a person who has been forced to leave their home as a result of the effects of climate change on their environment. A climate refugee faces the prospect of abandoning their village due to erosion and sea level rise. Next is a question: what does it mean by loss of sovereignty? So the simple answer for this question is when a government loses sovereignty, it loses power or control over something. It either be good or bad depending on what they lose power or control over, and would also base on one's viewpoint. Now, let's move forward to another topic: the oceans and international law. International waters, territory disputes, flags of convenience, and their related issues. The ocean had long been subjected to the freedom of the seas doctrine, a principle put forth in the 17th century, essentially limiting national rights and jurisdiction over the oceans to a narrow sea belt surrounding a nation's coastline. The rest of the seas were declared free for all and belonged to none. While this situation lasted into the 20th century, by mid-century there was an impetus to extend national claims over offshore resources. First, let's talk about international waters. What are international waters? These are the areas of the sea that are not under the jurisdiction of any country. This is basically called a free water, the free sea. Also, we would like to ask, what is a territory dispute? A territorial dispute or boundary dispute is a disagreement over the possession or control of land between two or more territorial entities. Territorial disputes occur when official representatives of one country make explicit statements claiming sovereignty over a specific piece of territory that is claimed or administered by another country. This has happened to Philippines and China. China claiming over Spratly Island, which is actually still part of Philippines territory. Another question is, what are the flags of convenience and their related issues? A flag of a country under which a ship is registered in order to avoid financial charges or restrictive regulations in the owner's country. The term flag of convenience has been used since the 1950s. Below are the countries which are part of this system. First is Malta, Cyprus, Hong Kong, the Bahamas, Marshall Islands, Liberia, Singapore, Vanuatu, and Panama. Nowadays, the ocean became really polluted. This is because of human works, and this has become a heavy toll on wildlife. There are different kinds of ocean pollutants. First, we have an ocean pollutant that is called the plastics. Plastics pollution has a direct and deadly effect on wildlife. Thousands of seabirds and sea turtles, seals, and other marine mammals are killed each year after ingesting plastic or getting entangled in it. Endangered wildlife like Hawaiian monk seals and Pacific loggerhead sea turtles are among nearly 700 species that eat and get caught in plastic litter. As I've said, these pollutants became a heavy toll on wildlife. Thousands of animals, from small finches to blue whales, die grisly deaths from eating and getting caught in plastic. The fish in North Pacific ingest 12,000 to 24,000 tons of plastic each year, which can cause intestinal injury and death, and transfer plastic up the food chain to bigger fish. Marine mammals and human seafood eat. A recent study found that a quarter of fish at markets in California contain plastic in their guts, mostly in the form of plastic microfibers. Gray whale sea turtles can mistake floating plastic garbage for food. They can choke, sustain internal injury, and die, or starve by thinking they're full from eating plastic. Tragically, research indicates that half of sea turtles worldwide have ingested plastic. New studies find plastic pollution is so pervasive on many beaches that it's affecting their reproduction. Hundreds of thousands of seabirds ingest plastic every year. Plastic ingestion reduces the storage volume of the stomach, causing starvation. It's estimated that 60% of all seabird species have eaten pieces of plastic, with that number predicted to increase to 99% by 2050. Dead seabirds are often found with stomachs full of plastic, reflecting how the amount of garbage in our oceans has rapidly increased in the past 40 years. Marine mammals ingest and get tangled up in plastic. Large amounts of plastic debris have been found in the habitat of critically endangered Hawaiian monk seals, including in areas that serve as pup nurseries. Entanglement in plastic debris has also led to injury and mortality in the endangered stellar sea lion. With packing bonds the most common entangling material, dead whales have been found with bellies full of plastic. Another ocean pollutant is the microbeads. Microbeads are not captured by most wastewater treatment systems. If they are washed down drains after use, they can end up in rivers, lakes, and oceans. Once in the water, microbeads can have a damaging effect on marine life, the environment, as well as the human health. So, what are the microbeads? Microbeads range in size from roughly 5 to 1 mm and are made from synthetic polymers including polyethylene, polylactic acid, or PLA, polypropylene, polystyrene, or polyethylene terephthalate, often found in toothpaste and body and facial washes. Microbeads are used as bulking agents or abrasives. Another ocean pollutant is the sewage, nutrients, and chemicals. One pollutant in the ocean is sewage. Human sewage largely consists of excrement from toilet flushing, wastewater from bathing, laundry, and dishwashing, and animal and vegetable matter from food preparation that is disposed through an in-sink garbage disposal. Because coasts are densely populated, the amount of sewage reaching seas and oceans is of particular concern because some substances it contains can harm ecosystem and pose a significant public health threat. In addition to the nutrients which can cause over-enrichment of receiving water bodies, sewage carries an area of potentially disease-causing microbes known as pathogens. Animal waste from feedlots and other agricultural operations. Example are the manure spreading on cropland, pose concerns similar to those of human waste by virtue of their microbial composition. Just as inland rivers, lakes, and groundwater can be contaminated by pathogenic microbes, so can coastal waters. Runoff from agricultural areas also contains nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen, which can cause over-enrichment in coastal regions that ultimately receive the runoff. The major types of ocean pollutants from industrial sources can be generally categorized as petroleum, hazardous, thermal, and radioactive. Petroleum products are oil and oil derived chemicals used for fuel, manufacturing, plastics making, and many other purposes. Hazardous wastes are chemicals that are toxic or poisonous at certain levels, reactive, or capable of producing explosive gases, corrosive, or able to corrode steel, or ignitable or flammable. Thermal wastes are heated wastewaters, typically from power plants and factories, where water is used for cooling purposes. Radioactive wastes contain chemical elements having an unstable nucleus that will spontaneously decay with the concurrent emission of ionizing radiation. Let's now move on to another topic, the deep ocean and deep sea creatures. Most people familiar with the oceans know about life only in the intertidal zone, where the water meets land, and the epipelagic zone, the upper sunlit zone of the open ocean. Though these zones contain an abundance of ocean life because sunlight is available for photosynthesis, they make up only a small fraction of the ocean biome. In fact, most of the ocean is cold, dark, and deep. It is important to realize that photosynthesis occurs only down to about 100 to 200 meters, and sunlight disappears altogether at 1000 meters or less, while the ocean descends to a maximum depth of about 11,000 meters in the Mariana Trench. Over 60% of our planet is covered by water more than a mile deep. The deep sea is the largest habitat on Earth and is largely unexplored. The oceans are divided into two broad realms, the pelagic and the benthic. Pelagic refers to the open water in which swimming and floating organisms live. Organisms living there are called the pelagos. From the shallowest to the deepest, biologists divide the pelagic into the epipelagic, less than 200 meters, where there can be photosynthesis. The mesopelagic, 200 to 1000 meters, or the twilight zone with faint sunlight but no photosynthesis. The bathypelagic, from 1000 to 4000 meters. The abyssopelagic, from 4000 to 6000 meters. And the deepest, the hadopelagic, the deep trenches below 6000 meters to about 11,000 meters or 36,000 feet deep. The last three zones have no sunlight at all. Benthic zones are defined as the bottom sediments and other surfaces of a body of water such as an ocean or a lake. Organisms living in these zones are called benthos. They live in a close relationship with the bottom of the sea, with many of them permanently attached to it. Some burrowed in it, others swimming just above it. In oceanic environments, benthic habitats are zoned by depth, generally corresponding to the comparable zones. The intertidal, where sea meets land with no pelagic equivalent, the subtidal, the continental shelves to about 200 meters, the bathyal, generally the continental slopes to about 4,000 meters, the abyssal, most of the deep ocean seafloor, 4,000 to 6,000 meters, and the hadal, the deep trenches, 6,000 to 11,000 meters. There is a physical characteristics of the deep sea. The physical characteristics that deep sea life must contend with to survive are abiotic and biotic ones. So first is abiotic, or the non-living ones, namely light or lack thereof, pressure, currents, temperature, oxygen, nutrients, and other chemicals. And the next one is the biotic ones, that is, other organisms that may be potential predators, food, mates, competitors, or symbionts. All these factors have led to fascinating adaptations of deep sea life for sensing, feeding, reproducing, moving, and avoiding being eaten by predators. Let us now move to another interesting topic about deep sea creatures. I have here 10 deep sea creatures to be discussed. First is the frilled shark. Humans rarely encounter frilled sharks, which prefer to remain in the ocean's depths up to 5,000 feet or 1,500 meters below the surface. Considered living fossils, frilled sharks bear many physical characteristics of ancestors who swamped the seas in the time of the dinosaurs. This 5.3-foot or 1.6-meter specimen was found in shallow water in Japan in 2007 and transferred to a marine park. It died hours after being caught. Another one is the giant spider crab, thought to be the largest arthropods on Earth. Giant spider crabs spend their time foraging on the ocean floor up to 1,000 feet or 300 meters deep. These rare, leggy behemoths, native to the waters of Japan, can be measured up to 12 feet or 3.7 meters from claw tip to claw tip. This 5-foot or 1.5 meters specimen was photographed by Japan's Sagami Bay. Another one is the Atlantic wolfish pair. The sinister-looking Atlantic wolfish makes its home in the rocky coastal depths up to 1,600 feet or 500 meters below, reaching 5 feet or 1.5 meters long. Wolfish have conspicuous dentition suited to a diet of hard-shelled mollusks, crabs, and sea urchins. This mated pair was found in a deep-sea den off the coast of Maine. Another one is the fangtooth fish. This nightmarish fangtooth is among the deepest living fish ever discovered. The fish's normal habitat ranges as high as about 6,500 feet or 2,000 meters deep, but it has been found swimming at icy crushing depths near 16,500 feet or 5,000 meters deep. Fangtooth fish reach only about 6 inches or 16 centimeters long, but their namesake teeth are the largest, proportionate to body size of any fish. Another one is the six-gill shark. A six-gill shark, like this one in the picture, is off the coast of Vancouver, cruise the ocean floor during the day, sometimes as deep as 8,200 feet or 2,500 meters, then move toward the surface at night to feed. They can reach impressive lengths of 16 feet or 4.8 meters on a diet of other sharks, rays, squids, crabs, and occasionally seals. Another one is the giant tube worms. Crushing pressure, freezing temperatures, and zero sunlight isn't enough of a challenge for giant tube worms. They've adapted to thrive at the edge of hydrothermal vents, which spew superheated water saturated with toxic chemicals. This colony was photographed 1.5 miles or 2.5 kilometers below the ocean surface on the East Pacific rise near the Galapagos Islands. Up next is the vampire squid. Vampire squid is an apt name for a creature that lurks in the lightless depths of the ocean, comfortable at 10,000 feet or 3,000 meters below the surface. These diminutive cephalopods navigate the blackness with eyes that are proportionately the largest of any animal on Earth. The species gets its name from its dark, webbed arms, which it can draw over itself like a cloak. It occupies the mesopelagic and bathypelagic regions of temperate and tropical world oceans. The animal's physiology has adapted to enable it to live at the very low oxygen levels found within the oxygen minimum layers of these regions. Next is the Pacific viper fish. The Pacific viper fish has jagged, needle-like teeth, so all size it can close its mouth. These deep-sea demons reach only about 8 inches or 25 centimeters long. They trawl the depths of up to 13,000 feet or 4,400 meters below, luring prey with bioluminescent photophores on their bellies. Another one is a single wolffish. An orthodontist's dream, an Atlantic wolffish displays the hardware it uses to crush mollusks, shellfish, and sea urchins. These tough-looking predators swim as deep as 2,000 feet or 600 meters and range from the Scandinavian coast to Cape Cod to the Mediterranean. Lastly, the anglerfish. The angry-looking deep-sea anglerfish has a right to be cranky. It is quite possibly the ugliest animal on the planet, and it lives in what is easily Earth's most inhospitable habitat, the lonely, lightless bottom of the sea. As one of the most distinguishing factors of this species, the anglerfish might look to you like it's gotten in some kind of fight. In all seriousness, its outer flesh membrane has an uneven texture that looks thick, marked up, and maybe even scarred. Anglerfish eyes are very small structures on their larger frames and are not very helpful in the dark environments. They rely on their senses to move around, hunt, and eat. We can forget to mention the anglerfish's teeth. These teeth are translucent needle-like structures and frame the anglerfish's mouth. They are more pliable than many other fish teeth, as well as they are always working to redirect prey into the digestive tract. So that ends my report. Thank you very much for listening. This is Mary Grace Casa signing off.